Your cat grieves. Not in the way you grieve, not with tears or words or the particular human rituals we have built around loss, but with the full weight of a creature whose world has been organized around a specific presence, and that presence is suddenly, inexplicably gone.
Most people don't realize this. They see the changed behavior after a loss, the searching, the silence, the refusal to eat, and they attribute it to something else, a mood, a phase, something that will pass on its own. And sometimes it does pass, but sometimes it doesn't. And the cat who is grieving without support becomes the cat who is quietly suffering in a way that is entirely preventable. This video is for every cat owner who has ever lost someone, human or animal, and wondered what their cat was going through. And for every cat who has been grieving in a house where no one knew to help. Before we get into it, thumbs up and subscribe. It genuinely helps us reach more cat owners who need this. Now let's talk about something that matters more than most people know.
What cat grief actually looks like. The first thing to understand about cat grief is that it almost never looks like what you expect. There is no crying, no visible mourning. What there is instead is a collection of behavioral changes, so subtle, so easily explained away, that most owners never connect them to loss at all. The searching is the most documented. A cat who has lost a companion, human or animal, will often move through the home looking, checking the spots the lost being used to occupy, returning to them again and again over days and sometimes weeks, sniffing the bed, sitting in the doorway of the room where the person used to sleep, waiting at the place where the other cat used to eat. This is not confusion. This is grief in its most literal form, the body going to find what the mind cannot yet accept is gone.
The vocalization changes. A cat who is quiet may begin crying at night. A cat who is vocal may go silent. Both are expressions of the same disruption. The acoustic environment of the home has changed, and the cat is responding to the absence of sounds it had organized its life around. The appetite changes. Some grieving cats stop eating. Some eat more. The disruption of routine and the loss itself can affect the cat's relationship with food in both directions, and both directions should be monitored. The clinginess, or the withdrawal. Again, both directions. Some cats who are grieving become intensely attached to the remaining humans in the home, seeking contact and reassurance with an urgency they did not show before. Others withdraw. They find the private spots. They sleep more. They disengage from the home's activity. Both are grief. Both are the cat reorganizing around an absence it did not choose and cannot explain.
What cat grief is not. It is not attention-seeking. It is not manipulation. It is not a behavioral problem that requires correction. The cat who is searching is not confused. She is grieving. The cat who is vocalizing at night is not being dramatic. She is expressing a loss she cannot process any other way. The cat who stops eating is not being picky. She is depressed in a way that is as physiologically real as human depression. Understanding this distinction matters enormously, because a cat who is grieving and receives correction for the behavioral expressions of that grief, whose night crying is punished, whose searching is interrupted, whose clinginess is pushed away, is a cat whose grief has been made harder without the suffering being addressed at all. The grief is real. The behavior is the communication of it, and communication deserves a response. Why cats grieve the way they do? Cats are far more socially bonded than most people believe. The stereotype of the solitary, independent cat is a persistent myth. Domestic cats form genuine attachments to humans, to other cats, to dogs, to the specific routines and presences that make up their social world. Those attachments create expectations, and when those expectations are violated by loss, the cat's nervous system responds exactly as you would expect any socially bonded animal's nervous system to respond.
But here is what makes cat grief particularly complex. Cats do not understand death. They have no conceptual framework for permanent absence. What they experience is not the loss of a being they know is gone. It is the experience of a being who was present and is now not, and whose continued absence makes no sense within the cat's understanding of the world. This is why the searching. This is why the returning to the spots. The cat is not processing death. The cat is experiencing an anomaly, a hole in the map of the world, and is looking for the data that will resolve it. And that data never comes. The absence persists, and gradually, over weeks and sometimes months, the cat's system begins to reorganize around the new reality. But the reorganization takes time, and in that time, the cat needs help.
How to help your cat grieve. The first and most important thing you can do is maintain routine. Grief disrupts the cat's sense of the world on every level, the social level, the acoustic level, the sensory level. What remains stable in the environment becomes increasingly important. Feeding at the same times, maintaining familiar rhythms, keeping the home as predictable as possible. This does not eliminate the grief, but it provides the structure within which the grief can be processed without the additional stress of environmental unpredictability.
Do not remove the lost being's belongings immediately. This runs counter to every human instinct about grief. We clear the space, we pack the things, we change the environment because the reminders are painful. But your cat is using those scents to process the loss. The bed, the blanket, the toys, these carry the scent of the lost being and provide the cat with a form of sensory connection during the transition. Removing them too quickly can intensify the disorientation. Let the scent fade naturally. Let the cat have access to it for as long as it seeks it out. Increase gentle interaction, not forced contact, never forced contact, but availability. Be present more, sit in the same room, let the cat come to you. If she seeks contact, provide it warmly and without hurry. The grieving cat who seeks reassurance and finds it consistently will reorganize more quickly and more completely than the grieving cat who grieves alone.
Watch for the signs that grief has become something more serious. A cat who stops eating entirely for more than 24 to 48 hours needs veterinary attention, regardless of the cause. A cat who stops grooming, who becomes completely withdrawn, who shows signs of physical illness alongside the behavioral changes, that cat needs professional support. Grief in cats can tip into depression that requires medical intervention. The line between normal grieving and clinical depression in cats is not always visible without professional assessment. When in doubt, call your vet.
The question most owners don't know to ask: should you get another pet to help a grieving cat? The answer is almost never yes, at least not immediately. The instinct to fill the absence with a new presence is understandable, but it almost always makes things worse in the short term. A grieving cat who is still processing the loss of a companion is not in the right state to form a new bond. The introduction of a new animal into the home of a grieving cat adds the additional stress of a territorial disruption on top of an already overwhelmed nervous system. The new animal is not a replacement. The grieving cat does not experience it as one. And the social complexity of the introduction, which would be challenging even under normal circumstances, becomes genuinely difficult when one of the parties is in emotional distress.
If and when you do introduce a new animal, wait. Let the grief run its course. Watch for the stabilization, the return to eating, to routine, to some version of the cat's normal behavior. That stabilization is the signal that the cat's system has begun to reorganize and is more capable of processing something new. It takes as long as it takes. There is no timeline.
What grief tells us about who our cats are. Here is what I want you to take from this. A creature cannot grieve what it did not love. The searching and the silence and the changed behavior, all of it is the evidence of an attachment that was real, that mattered, that organized the cat's experience of the world in ways that only become visible when the thing they were organized around is gone. Your cat grieves because she loved, because the being who is gone was part of how she understood the world to work, because their absence is a rupture in a reality she built around their presence.
That is not a small thing. That is not a cat being difficult or confused or dramatic. That is the behavior of a creature with genuine emotional bonds, experiencing the genuine cost of those bonds in the only way available to her. She cannot tell you she is grieving. She cannot ask for help in words. What she can do is search and sit in doorways and cry at night and come to you with an urgency that says something has changed and I do not know how to be in this world without it. Your job is simply to know that, to understand what you are looking at when you see those behaviors, and to be there, consistently, quietly, warmly, while she finds her way through. She found her way through everything else by having you. She will find her way through this the same way.